Every kid in the world thinks there's a scary monster hiding under their bed. But what if I told you the monster under your bed is actually scared of you? This is the story of the night I finally met him. My name is Milo, and like most kids, I was having a really hard time falling asleep. My room was dark. The moonlight was casting weird shadows on the wall, and everything was just a little too quiet until it wasn't. Knock, knock. The sound was coming from right under my bed. I froze. My heart started beating like a drum solo. I whispered into the darkness, "Hello." Nothing. Just silence. And then, knock, knock, knock. Louder this time. Okay, this was it. I had to know what was down there. I slowly, carefully leaned over the edge of my bed and peered into the shadows. My eyes were wide, trying to see anything at all. If you're a monster, blink twice. I whispered, not really expecting an answer. But then 2 big glowing eyes blinked back at me. Once. Twice I screamed. And then the weirdest thing happened. The eyes screamed back. A high-pitched, shaky scream came from under the bed. I scrambled back up, pulling my blanket to my chin. "You're a monster," I yelled. A tiny, shaking voice replied, "No, you're a human." And we both screamed again. I stopped and blinked, totally confused. "Wait," I said, my voice trembling a little less. "You're scared of me?" The 2 glowing eyes nodded frantically. "Humans are terrifying." The voice squeaked, "You have teeth, and shoes, and bedtime routines." I couldn't help but be a little offended. My bedtime routine is perfectly normal. Slowly, the monster started to crawl out from under the bed, but he wasn't what I expected. He was small and fuzzy. He had floppy ears like a bunny, and for some reason he was wearing my socks on his hands. He stood there, wringing his sock hands nervously. "My name is Gobu," he said, "and I failed monster school." I sat up, curious. "Why did you fail monster school?" Gobu leaned in and whispered dramatically, "Because." I screamed too softly. To prove his point, he took a deep breath and let out the tiniest little scream you've ever heard. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Gobu's floppy ears drooped. "See," he cried. "Nobody gets scared. Even cats laugh at me." He looked so sad, I almost felt bad for laughing. But just as I was about to apologize, Gobu's eyes darted around my room nervously. He looked genuinely scared now, but not of me. "But tonight, I need your help," he whispered, his voice shaking again. "There's something really scary in your room." My blood ran cold. I gulped. "What? What's in my room?" Gobu trembled and pointed a sock-covered hand towards my closet. The closet. They can be a bit messy, but I wouldn't call them scary. Gobu shook his head, his big eyes wide with fear. "No, it's the shadow sniffer." I'd never heard of a shadow sniffer before. He's a shadow that smells fear and popcorn, Gobu explained. I had to ask, why popcorn? Gobu just shrugged. Don't ask. He's weird. Just then, we heard a long, low creak. We both turned to look. The closet door was slowly opening all by itself. Dark, spooky fog started spilling out from the closet, creeping across my bedroom floor. A shadowy figure started to step out. It was tall and goofy looking, not really scary, but definitely strange. It started sniffing the air loudly. Sniff, sniff, I smell fear and butter. I dove behind Gobu for protection, and Gobu, the monster who was supposed to be scary, dove behind me. We were a ridiculous sandwich of fear. The shadow sniffer looked at us, confused. Who is scared of who? I'm confused. As he took a step forward, he accidentally tripped over one of my sneakers and went flying, landing in a heap on the floor. Gobu and I just stared at each other, then back at the clumsy shadow. I whispered to Gobu, "Is he always like this?" Gobu nodded. Always. The shadow sniffer picked himself up, dusted himself off, and decided to try scaring us again. He spread his shadowy arms wide and took a deep breath. Boo-woo-woo, but right at that moment, the light bulb in my lamp flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. Hey, who turned off my dramatic light? The shadow yelled into the void. A moment later, the light flickered back on. He glared at the lamp, then turned back to us, ready for round two. Raha, he started to roar, but it came out as a massive sneeze instead. S-E-N-E-E. E-E-A-Y. Ahat. The force of the sneeze was so powerful it blew him backwards, right into a pile of pillows. Gobu leaned over and whispered to me, "He's actually allergic to bravery." That was it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I started laughing. Not a scared little giggle, but a big belly laugh. The shadow sniffer looked up from the pillows, looking more embarrassed than scary. Gobu started laughing too. I walked over and held out my hand to the shadow. "You're not scary," I said, still smiling. "You're just confused." The shadow sniffer looked at my hand, then up at my face. Nobody's ever said that to me before. He took my hand, and I helped him up. Gobu smiled, his floppy ears perking up. You know, maybe humans aren't so scary after all. I looked at Gobu, the fuzzy monster wearing my socks, and the shadow sniffer who was allergic to bravery. And maybe monsters aren't either, I said. We all ended up sitting on my bed together, like we'd been friends for years. And that night, I learned something important. Sometimes the things we're scared of are even more scared of us, especially if they're tiny and allergic to bravery and wear socks on their hands. Soon enough, the three of us, a boy, a monster, and a shadow, were all fast asleep, with no more need for scares, screams, or even dramatic lighting. Thanks so much for watching our story. If you want to see more adventures with Milo, Gobu, and the Shadow Sniffer, make sure to hit that subscribe button. See you next time.